Okay, hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I'm in a real state of boredom. Football's over, although the playoffs are still to come, but Wigan aren't playing until what, July, when pre-season starts. So with that, we thought this would be the perfect time to do an end of season review of the 24-25 season. So yeah, if we can hit 20 odd likes, 20 to 30 likes, be massively appreciated. And we are one subscriber from 100, so please hit that subscribe button and make the milestone happen. And without further ado, let's get straight into the video. Okay, so the summer of 2024, England got to the Euro final, didn't quite go to plan, got battered by Spain. But overall, it was a decent summer. For Wigan-wise, we lost a lot of players on freeze, a lot of our good players, a lot of players left for decent values, like Sean Clare, for example. He was a surprise player to walk out. Pre-season went fairly well. It was all completed through July and a bit of August. So we played, how many games have we had? Six pre-season games. We had Accrington Stanley at the Wham Stadium, which we won 4-1. We had Chorley at Victory Park, which we drew 0-0. We obviously went to that game, and we went vlogging then. And to think that, I mean, and you'd think we were vlogging, but we went, and I can't believe we went, to be honest, because that was a really good day out, that wasn't it, Kurt?
Yeah.
So
it's always good to go to an away ground, see what different stadiums are like.
Yeah, it definitely is. But yeah, I think overall, very impressed with that Chile game. It was 0-0, it was a boring game, but it was nice to go to a proper non-league ground. We beat Filey, I'd say Filed 4-0 away. That was a good result, and then that. Again, it was nice seeing the youth getting a good aspect, which is not something that, obviously, to be honest though, we are one of the, I think this season we've used youth the most out of any team in England, so that's quite a bold statement. So yeah, we beat Filed 4-0. We drew against Blackburn 1-0, the first game back at the Brick. That wasn't a great result, and then we got beat by Tranmere at Prenton Park. That was an interesting defeat, and then obviously we got beat by Barrow, their Gaff in the Lake District. That wasn't ideal. Pre-season didn't go too bad. I mean, we won 2, drawn 2, lost 2, so we didn't have the greatest time. I mean, we weren't challenged that much. It was just local non-league teams and a couple of EFL teams, so not like the greatest pre-season. The season, obviously, in fact, before we get into season, we'll go through transfers. Now, as I said, quite a few big players left. What I would say is that I think the best signing of the summer, well, not best, I think my favourite signing was probably Dion Rankine. I was quite impressed by him because, again, he's a nice little dummy player. He's skillful. His size is something that's enables him to get around defenders really well. He's a winger. Obviously, he was totally converted from like a winger back to a winger, so that was interesting. So he was my favourite signing. Obviously, he got leaked, so he was announced a lot later than he should have been, because obviously someone leaked him doing photos with the club, so that was quite funny, to be honest. But yeah, but then I think in terms of, I think the most crucial signing this season, in the summer, was probably Will Aimson. Now, I think I'm paid at the time. I was a bit surprised we were signing him, but honestly, he's done really well because he replaced the worst summer departure we had, which was Charlie Hughes, and Aimson's done a good job, because I thought initially we're replacing Charlie Hughes, one of our best players for years, with a very average defender. But Aimson's come in. He gets on with the fans, he's passionate, and that's what he wants in football. He's a good defender, he's worked hard with Jason Kerr. As well as Charlie Hughes, I would also say that the worst summer departure was also Stephen Humphries. A lot of people weren't too bothered, but I think we've missed Humphries. He was quite consistent for us. He smashed it at Barnes this season, so yeah, not happy with. We got rid of Humphries, to be honest, and we replaced him with Joe Hugill and Dale Taylor, which worked out well, but yeah, overall, yeah, not too bad business-wise, I don't think. So the season started on August the 10th. That was the first league game of the campaign, and it ended a 1-0 defeat to Charlton through Lloyd Jones. We then obviously played Reading at the Majeski, or was it the Select Car Legion it is nowadays. That was a 2-0 defeat. So realistically, it was probably one of the worst starts we could have had to a Prem season. Not ideal at all, but yeah. I mean, and then obviously Crawley, which is on the 24th of August, we won that game. I think that was an own goal, although it was hard to tell from what I remember. But yeah, that was third game of the season, and then obviously we met Birmingham at St Andrews. That was when Birmingham were just sort of getting started in the league, and they only just beat us in the end. It was a last minute win from Scott Wright. Asgard, I know, equalised for us, and we didn't do that bad in that game, to be honest. So overall, August wasn't too bad. Okay, so now on to September, and the first league game of September was at Memorial Ground, where we faced Bristol Rovers, and it ended Rovers 0, Wigan 4. That was probably the result of the season, to be honest, in terms of goals scored. I think Chambers scored a great free kick, Hugill scored a brace, I think. Can't remember who scored the fourth goal, but overall that was a really good performance. And then we had the start of 3 0-0 draws, a 0-0 against Lincoln away, which was an awful game, a 0-0 at home to Stevenage, and then a 0-0 at home to Exeter. 3 of the worst games of football probably ever seen in my life. Overall, September was a pretty poor month with only 6 points. To be fair though, I mean, on paper though, I think some would argue that's not too bad, but it will differ. But yeah, September was a month to forget, I'd argue. Okay, so October now. First game of that was a very surprising 3-0 home victory over Peterborough in the first, which saw, I think Del Taylor got a brace. That was his opening of his Wigan account, which is going to be a very good campaign. We also saw a Cal Mack goal, which probably should have been goal of the season, but it didn't quite make it. We then drew 0-0 at Stockport, which I heard was a very poor result, well, poor performance even. We then met Cambridge, which ended 2-0 at their gaff. That was probably one of the worst results of the season again, to lose to a team that was so far gone at that point already. But they turned around big time, didn't they? We then met Mansfield, got beat 2-1 at home to Mansfield. That, in fact, was the first match they've ever did. I remember that game very well. It was we've come quite a long way since then. But yeah, that was a fun game. I remember us conceding 2 absolute screamers to Nigel Clough's side. We then met Blackpool, which we scored 4 goals and only 2 were in our net. The other 2 were in their net, yeah. So yeah, that was another interesting derby. And we were 2 up at half time as well, so that was interesting. But yeah, that was it for October. Okay, in November now. The month of remembrance. The first game was a 1-0 defeat to Wycombe. That was a very poor game. We then beat Barnsley 1-0 at Oakwell. We then beat Northampton 2-1 at the break. I remember Johnny Smith scoring a screamer. We then move on to December, the festive period. First game in December was Huddersfield away. Beat 1-0 at Oliver Turton header. We watched that. That was an interesting one. But then got beat by 2-0 by Leyton Orient. That was sort of this time where they were starting that meteoric rise, and that's got them to a playoff final, of course. We then beat Bolton 2-0. That was probably my personal game of the season. Amazing that day out, that one at Kurt.
Certainly was. Nothing quite like a good trip out and winning.
Certainly wasn't. And then the final 3 games of December, we drew to Shrewsbury. I swear we were 2-0 there as well. I think we were.
Yeah, we were. But then obviously own goal and then they scored.
Yeah, that was it. And then beat Rotherham on Boxing Day through Baba and Eco, which I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. And then we got beat by Wrexham, but again, that was a good performance. I mean, to have got to the 90th minute at level with Wrexham was difficult, but obviously they scored the late winner from Stephen Fletcher. But not a bad result for that. December was certainly not the worst month of the season. On to January. The first game of 2025 was a 3-0 thrashing at home to Birmingham. Was not a very good performance at all. If I remember, I think we were 2-0 down or 3-0 up down at half time.
2-0.
Yeah, 2-0, but overall it wasn't a good performance. That was a bad day out. We then beat Stevenage 2-1. There was 2 red cards. Teller with a last minute free kick. That was some scenes. We then got beat by Burton 2-1, and that was again the start of their rise to survival. Then beat Bristol Rovers 2-0. That was the first goal of the season for James Carragher. Fair play to him. Then beat by Peterborough 1-0. That was a very bad game. February started with Wigan 1, Lincoln 1. Another draw against Lincoln. I can't end that game personally. We then got beat by Stockport 2-0. That was an annoying game. Then we drew to Crawley. Again, dreadful. Drew to Wickham. That was a good result. We beat Huddersfield. That was one of the best performances of the season. That Smith and Dale with the goals. And then we faced Reading. Got beat 2-1. And then it all changed. That was the game. Well, the next day, on the 2nd of March, Sean Maloney was obviously sacked from Wigan, which I honestly still think caused a lot of. Well, it was quite a stir, but we will come back onto that. Under Glenn Whelan, we then drew 0-0 at Mansfield. We then beat Cambridge 1-0. Got beat by Charlton. That was, I think, Lowe's first official game. And then we drew 1-0 at Barnes, which was Lowe's first home game. Leeds had some Marvin equaliser. And then we get on to the final month and a bit now with April. And moving on to April, we faced Bolton in a very forgettable derby. The first time they beat us in 10 years. It ended 1-0 Bolton. A 92nd minute winner from Chris Freeman. Probably the most painful pain I've felt as a football fan. It really hurt, that one. It was one to forget. We then drew 0-0 against Leyton Orient. Again, a result you'd happily take. We drew against Exeter 1-0. I think it was a penalty from Dale Taylor. Yeah, it was. We then drew 0-0 against Wrexham. Again, a surprise result. We beat Shrewsbury 1-0. We were happy with that. Then we beat Rotherham 1-0, a James Carragher goal. We drew against Blackpool. Who scored in that game? John Mellish, 2nd minute. That was a very interesting game. And then we drew going against Burton, Ronan Darcy with a late winner from late equaliser even from outside the box. And then the final game, which was the final game of the season, in the 3rd of May. Northampton 1, Wigan 1. We did a live stream for that, and it wasn't a great performance, but I think it was nice to see Dale Taylor leave Wigan with a final goal in the last minute of the game. So yeah, that was every league fixture. I think overall, when we talk about the league placement this season, I mean, it's fair to say we very much overachieved. I mean, we finished 15th, didn't we? And I think, yeah, we underachieved. Going into this season, I felt more optimistic that we could make top 10, but Maloney couldn't deliver for us. Ryan Lowe, obviously, I'm a new man. Still early days yet, but we will see how it goes into next season. And with that, let's now move on to the Carabao Cup run. Okay, so the Carabao Cup run. So it wasn't really a run because we went out in the first round. We drew 1-0 with Barnsley. That was a very forgettable game. I think Joe Hugo's first goal in that game. We went out on penalties. Barnsley won 4-2 on pens. Overall, I'm not really fussed about the Carabao Cup. I think the Carabao Cup was a bit weird. The way that it's called the EFL Cup, but yet it features Premier League teams, baffles me. So yeah, weird tournament. Overall, not my bothered really. And Barnsley didn't go on to do anything special. So overall, yeah, I think quite happy with that, to be honest. Right, up next, the EFL Trophy, or shall I say the Virtu Trophy, or the Bristol Immerse Trophy, whatever you want to call it. It's changed its name about 8 times in the last few years. The first group game was Wigan 1, Morecambe 2, an absolute embarrassment performance to get beat by rock bottom of League 2, Morecambe, and they were at the time they went on to finish in that same position. Dreadful, really. But then beat Carlisle 2-0. That was a good performance. I think it was goal from Josh Stones and Michael Olakigbe, I think. I'm just saying I'm on a limb, but I think it was. And then we drew 0-0 to Nottingham Forest under 21s. And that was one to forget about. We got beat. We won 3-0 on pens. Tom Watson with a masterclass. And then we got into the knockout round, and then we got beat 3-2 by Paul Cook and Chesterfield. We did, to be fair, I mean, we worked hard on that game, but it wasn't meant to be, and we were sadly beaten. But overall, it's trophy becoming better in, but sadly Chesterfield were a better team on the day, and then they beat us. Okay, up next, the FA Cup. A tournament we've obviously got history in the first round, because obviously we haven't got the privilege of being a Prem team and starting from round 3. So the first round we beat Carlisle 2-0, just like we did in the EFL Trophy. Goals from Scott Smith and Johnny Smith, who scored a goal from, I think, like the halfway line. The goalkeeper came out. The second round, we beat we beat Cambridge United away in Stobbage Town, another Johnny Smith winner. We then beat Mansfield 2-0. I think Asgard scored in that game. Then got to the fourth round. We got Fulham. Huge game for us. We gave it a good fight. It was 1-0. It was 1-0 with Joey Smith equalised with his goal of the season. But sadly, Fulham responded quickly through Rodrigo Muniz. He got a brace and we couldn't do it in the end. But Rowan Darcy had a disallowed goal. We were close, but we weren't close enough. Very unlucky in the end. But overall, not a bad run. For a team in League One to make the fourth round, starting in the first round, is very impressive. So yeah, fair play with him. Okay, so the next topic I want to discuss is attendances. Now this season, we've got an average attendance of, I think it's about 9,900 and something. So overall, not really much change there. We've never really, I think since the downfall from the Prem, we've struggled a lot with our attendances. We've received a lot of criticism, but what I will say to that is, we are completely entitled to talk about our away attendances and rank over attendances. That's all I'm going to say, because that video got so much hate and I think it was very unjustified, really. But yeah, the highest attended home game this season for Wigan was unsurprisingly the Bolton Wanderers game, which was 15,445 attendance, including away fans, that is. The second was the Wrexham match, which was 14,419. And then the third highest attended was the Birmingham City match, which was 13,485. So overall, yeah, we've done, I'd say, fairly well. I mean, obviously, the teams that bring the big away attendances, obviously, is where the most money lies. But like I say, we received a lot of criticism. I think the biggest argument I'd make is that we're playing in a 25,000 seat stadium. If we were in a stadium that was 15,000, we probably would sell out of a week. Or maybe 10,000 or 12,000. Let's say around there. I think 15,000 might be pushing it. But yeah, we would definitely sell out. So I think we're going to do well for our level, really. We're doing no better than anyone else does. I mean, you can argue that Birmingham, yeah, they've got a great attendance over Wrexham, but you know, we're not at that level yet, but hopefully in the near future, we will be. But overall, attendance this season hasn't been too shabby. Away wise, it's not too bad. I mean, the Bolton game, that was probably the best one by a landslide. But yeah, like I say, overall, fairly decent with our away attendances, our home attendances even. Okay, right, next up, we went out on social media and we found a few Wigan fans who were willing to give us a couple of words about the season. We also gave them some questions. So
we've got a series of questions that Charlie's prepared. So I'm going to read them out and we're going to get Charlie's thoughts on each one. So, in your own opinion, who was Wigan's player of the season?
Well, I mean, the voted one went to Dale Taylor, didn't it? I think... God. I shouldn't really have answered this. I shouldn't have put this question. I don't know, honestly. I think, yeah, I'll agree Dale Taylor because he's been a very consistent, prolific goal scorer. The first one after a while, sadly, he's not going to return by the looks of it, but you never know. It's not off the cards completely, but it's unlikely though. But yeah, overall, Dale Taylor has been an absolute menace. He's scored 10 plus goals, he's registered 10 plus assists. You can't really go wrong with that. We needed someone like that. We signed the right player on loan. Forest are looking to have him. I mean, Will Forest. Will Forest regard him in the same light as we do? Probably not, but it is what it is. But yeah, I'd say Dale Taylor deserves player of the season, in my opinion, and obviously in the supporters' opinion. So yeah, Dale Taylor gets it for me.
Okay, thank you. Next up, what has been the most memorable win of 24-25 and the least memorable?
Well, I think for both Bolton away and at home, the most memorable definitely Bolton away. It's our first Bolton game at the Tough Sheet, and it was a memorable day. 2-0, great atmosphere, 2 decent goals. It was a great day. It was a great Saturday afternoon out. But yeah, I remember least memorable has to be Bolton at home, particularly because of. I mean, if we lost 1-0 and it had been a goal in like the 50th minute, yeah, I wouldn't have been as bothered. But the fact that it was the 92nd minute, it was absolutely heart wrenching. So yeah, I think that takes the medal for me.
Okay. Next up, who would be one player you would want to sign, Wigan to sign above anyone else next season?
There's not too many links. There's a couple of links at the moment. I think, I mean, the main two that I've seen a lot on the radar have been Niall Ennis and Paul Mullin. I know a lot of people in the fan base were not very happy with what I said about Paul Mullin, but overall, I would like to see him at Wigan. I think it'd be very surprising and good transfer because he's a good goal scorer. I know he's not really proved himself at League One level, but maybe with the club he could do it at. So I think I'd like to see Paul Mullin at Wigan because I think he'd be the right man to come in and replace what Dale Taylor did last season. So yeah, get Paul Mullin to Wigan, I think.
So this season, the board said that we've underachieved. Do you feel that we have underachieved this season? What were your expectations going into it?
Yeah, I think we have underachieved. I think going into the season, I expected probably a top 10 finish, which, well, looking back now, yeah, was very, very mad to say or predict. So yeah, we definitely underachieved. I think we had I wouldn't say we had a great summer window. Too many loan signings, not enough permanent deals. Same in January, really. So yeah, overall, we definitely have underachieved as a football club. But that's not to say that we'll do the same next season. I think next season we might hopefully overachieve.
Okay. What now? Leading on, well, a similar sort of topic that you've put here. So, was the decision to sack Sean Maloney harsh?
Yeah, 100%. I don't think he was at all that bad as he was made out to be. I think at the end of the day, he came in a time of need. We went down from the Championship. He couldn't fix that, but he did get us some form towards the end. I think last season particularly, to guide us to a 12th place finish on -8 points shows a very clear level of skill from a manager who I think I do think that as a club we disrespect him too much, and yeah, I think Maloney deserved more time. I think he deserves it to at least the end of the season, and if he was to be sacked now, I'd support it more than I did back in March. But yeah, overall it was a very harsh decision to sack Sean Maloney.
Okay. And finally, can you see Ryan Lowe getting us to the Championship within the next 3 years?
Yeah, I can. I think probably I think we need 2 years now of just solid top 10 finishes and maybe pushing for the playoffs, and then you get to that point where probably you've outgrown League One and you probably will be aiming for top 2. So I think 3 years is a. It might seem a bit drastic now, but I think there's no danger that I think we're going to have a good summer window, and I think with the next 2 seasons we'll have a good team that's ready to take on the heights of the Championship. Championship. Yeah.
So, my review of Wigan Athletic. Here we go. So, my opinion, if I had to rate it from A to F, I would probably give our season maybe a D minus. At the start, we were very, very highly ranked to get into the player places. But I could tell from the very first game of the season that we were a different Wigan Athletic. We were playing boring football. As the season progressed, we had highs and lows. And at the end of the season, we did finish on a good high with 8 games unbeaten. And I would say plans for next season, just maintain a good League One status. So, my opinion for player of the season, there's a lot of different players we could have chose from. Obviously, I'm ruling out any players that were terrible all season. But I've narrowed it down to 3 people for player of the season. Dale Taylor, James Carragher, and Sam Tickle. Those three men have been key players for us. But if I had to pick player of the season, I'd probably go for Super Sam Tickle, because if it wasn't for his saves and clean sheets and how much he helped defend, we probably would have been relegated to League 2 this season, and I'm pretty much certain that he'll end up leaving during the transfer window, so you never know, we could see him in League 2. We could see him in Championship, but we could end up in League 2 if he goes. Most memorable win, I would go for... there's only one I can really think of, and that was the Bolton away game when we won 2-0, which meant it's been a decade since Bolton last beat us at their ground. The least memorable thing has to be the Bolton loss, and also probably the abilities of most of our attackers this season. They have just been terrible. Obviously, we did a lot of loans this season, and with the abilities of some of those players, they could fit into League One. We had Dion Rankine on loan from Chelsea. We had Silko Thomas on loan from Leicester. We had that Therese Francois. We had so many loans, and they basically did little to nothing. Silko kept getting himself injured. Dion Rankine was just shit. And I don't even know what happened to Therese Francois. He just disappeared. One player I would like Wigan to sign above everyone else. Well, I could probably make a list of signings that Wigan could get, but I've had a good think, and the main problem with us has been attacking. And a player I think, if he's good at League One material, of course, that would be good signing, would be Alisson Jatta of Notts County. If you've seen his goals this season, he is basically a reason why Notts County have done so good this season compared to last season. When Macaulay Langstaff left, I thought Notts County would be back in the National League, but they found a gem in Alisson Jatta. So if we could end up signing him, I think he could be a key player. Have Wigan underachieved this season? I would say yes and no. Yes, in the fact that the papers and the pundits were all saying we could get playoffs, and we didn't get there. We were more like a relegation-based team. But no, in the fact in that I generally thought this might happen. This could be a terrible season. Because of the fact we lost so many key players. We lost Charlie White, Stephen Humphreys, Charlie Hughes, Tello Asgard. We lost all our main men, and I didn't think it would work for the entire season. But we had a few good spells. We had a good FA Cup run, which of course we fell to at the hands of Fulham, which I still think we should have probably had a 1-1 draw with that. But yeah, that's what I think. I go with yes and no for underachieving. The decision to sack Sean Maloney harsh. Now, I have mixed thoughts about this, because Sean Maloney is a Wigan Athletic legend, and he'll always will be. When we first appointed him as boss, this was, of course, after the terrible Kolo Touré era, and he steadied the ship, but unfortunately we did get relegated. His first full season, he did all right. He took us from -8 points at the start of the season to 1 point after 4 games. That was great, that. This season, I would admit the wheels did fall off a lot with Sean Maloney. Our players were just boring. There was only like a few key players that were exciting. So I I generally would say maybe the sacking was the right thing to do, but I generally think maybe they should have sacked him maybe a bit earlier. But I do have to say, he is a legend, and I would like him back one day, but maybe not as a manager, maybe as an assistant. That would probably work better. Can you see Ryan Lowe gain us to the championship within the next 3 years? Ryan Lowe is a great manager, all right? He's done great spells at Preston, Plymouth, and he did great with Bury until, of course, they got expelled from the Football League. When Ryan Lowe first started his games, I couldn't see any difference between him and Maloney, but I think the more games he did, the more I could tell that we were playing a different style of football than the one compared to Maloney. And we started to actually improve performances then. Getting us to the championship will definitely be a tough opportunity, and I think in the current state that we're in, I think that would be impossible. I reckon if Ryan Lowe knows his stuff and he gets players that can lead us to the championship, that can lead us to even winning titles, it could work. But in my opinion personally, I just would really like us to maintain our League One status, because from what I've seen from the past times we got promoted is the second we get promoted, we have a financial crisis again. And I don't want to go through that again. So that is my review of Wigan Athletic. And if I had to say any final thoughts on the upcoming season, I would say let's hope we just stay up, because that's the one thing I want us to do.
In my opinion, the player of the season, definitely Sam Tickle. Once again, like, got a lot of clean sheets this season. He's just been outstanding for the team. Definitely can see him being in the championship side in the future. Probably won't be staying at Wigan for too long because he's definitely too good for this level. The most memorable win got to be Bolton versus Wigan when Wigan won 2-0 away at Bolton. Yeah, very good game. I went to go see it myself. Definitely, probably the most exciting game of the season. Least memorable win. Wigan v Cambridge when we won 1-0. It wasn't the most exciting game of the season, especially because it's Cambridge. We probably should have done a bit better. But a bit of a boring game, to be honest. Who I would want Wigan to sign? To be honest, I'm not too sure of this one, but we do probably need a pretty decent striker who can bang a few more goals in for us. So, like we were talking about, Niall Ennis, and yeah, so maybe Niall Ennis, but also not a striker, but a defender like Wiredu, seeing as Ameson's getting a bit on now. But yeah, and this season Wigan have definitely underachieved from what we were like last season. We finished 12th last season, so a lot of the fans were expecting to probably do a bit better this season and push the playoffs, but obviously that didn't work out. So we have definitely underachieved. The fans aren't too happy about us either. And the decision to sack Maloney, it was a bit harsh. I think we should have waited out to the end of the season, and if we still hadn't improved at all, we should have sacked him then. But and brought Ryan Lowe in then. So I think it was a bit harsh to sack Maloney. I can definitely see Ryan Lowe getting us the championship in the next 3 years, seeing as he's got Plymouth promoted from League One to the championship, and he did decent at Preston, keeping the mid-table. So with his history of getting teams promoted and keeping them stable, I can definitely see Ryan Lowe getting us in the Championship in the next 3 years.
Okay, everyone, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the end of season review. I feel like we've gone into a decent amount of detail. I think overall we've underachieved. It's been one to forget about. I mean, we've been better to watch away than at home, which says quite a lot, really. But Ryan Lowe's at the helm now. Next season, hopefully, will be better. There's going to be a lot of videos about next season coming on this channel, especially to do with the Prem, the Championship, League Two. So I'm excited for the next few months, going into pre-season as well. So like I said, please, if you can smash the like button, please can we get about between 20 and 30 likes? It'd be much appreciated. And like I say, 1 subscriber of 100 now. Please make the milestone happen. Just one of you, hit that like button and subscribe button. And until next time, thanks for watching Season 2 Footblogs, and take it easy.